A young boy sells lemonade to cover father's funeral. Costs then. Elon Musk walks in and changes everything. The summer heat bore down mercilessly on the cracked pavement of a small neighborhood in Austin, Texas. The sun was relentless, turning the air thick with humidity, as a boy no older than 10 stood behind a rickety wooden stand. A faded sign, written in uneven letters, read, "Lemonade, 50C, help for Dad's funeral." Noah Reynolds wiped the sweat from his forehead and straightened his baseball cap. His small hands gripped a plastic pitcher filled with ice-cold lemonade, condensation dripping down its sides. He poured the golden liquid into a paper cup, handing it to an elderly woman who had stopped by. "Here you go, ma'am," he said with a weak smile. She looked down at him, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Keep the change, sweetheart." She placed a $20 bill in the little tin can beside him and walked away without waiting for her change. Noah blinked back tears. People were kind. Some, at least, but kindness didn't always add up to enough. It had been a week since his father, David Reynolds, passed away from a sudden heart attack. One moment, he had been laughing at a joke while cooking dinner. The next, he was clutching his chest and collapsing onto the floor. The ambulance came too late. Now, Noah and his mother, Sarah, were left with more than just grief. They were drowning in the costs of a funeral they couldn't afford. At only 10 years old, Noah didn't understand the complexities of bills and debts, but he knew his mother's worried face when she sat at the kitchen table with a pile of papers. He knew the hushed conversations late at night, the ones where she whispered about how much a funeral cost, about how they had nothing saved. So he did the only thing he could think of. He set up a lemonade stand. Each day he sat under the scorching sun, selling as much lemonade as he could, hoping, praying that he could help, but hope was starting to wear thin. On this particular afternoon, the street was unusually quiet. Few cars passed by, and even fewer people stopped. Noah's shoulders slumped. He was running out of cups. More than that, he was running out of time. The funeral home needed the payment by the end of the week, and they were still far from having enough. His mother had told him he didn't have to do this, but Noah refused to listen. His father had been his hero. He couldn't just let him go without a proper farewell. As he sat there watching the road, a sleek black Tesla slowed down and pulled up beside the curb. Noah barely paid attention at first. It wasn't unusual for cars to slow down only to drive away. But then the door opened. A tall man stepped out, dressed casually in a plain black t-shirt and jeans. His tousled brown hair was slightly messy, and his eyes, a sharp blue-gray, held a glimmer of curiosity. Noah's heart pounded in his chest. He had seen this man before. He was Elon Musk, the billionaire, the genius behind Tesla, SpaceX, and so many other things that Noah didn't fully understand. Elon Musk walked right up to the stand, scanning the small setup before looking directly at Noah. "Hey, kid," he said, his voice light yet serious. "Lemonade, huh?" Noah swallowed hard and nodded. "Yes, sir. 50 cents a cup." Elon raised an eyebrow, then glanced at the sign. His expression softened. He pulled out a crisp $100 bill and placed it on the table. "I'll take one." Noah's hands shook as he poured the lemonade into a cup and handed it over. Elon took a sip, smacked his lips, and grinned. "Not bad. I like it." Noah managed a small smile. Then Elon did something unexpected. He pulled up a chair from the nearby cafe and sat down beside the stand. "So tell me, kid, why are you selling lemonade for your dad's funeral?" Noah hesitated, but something about Elon's voice made him trust him. He explained everything: the sudden loss, the overwhelming cost, his mother's struggle. Elon listened intently, nodding occasionally. When Noah finished, the billionaire let out a long breath and looked at the boy with an expression that was unreadable. "How much do you need?" Noah's throat tightened. "I don't know exactly. Mom says it's a little over $7,000. Elon Musk leaned back in his chair, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Yeah, it's me. I need the name of a good funeral home in Austin. No, not for me, for a friend." Noah's eyes widened. A friend. A few minutes later, Elon hung up and looked at the boy. "All right, kid. Here's the deal. I'm covering the funeral costs, everything." Noah's mouth fell open. "What?" Elon smiled. "I mean it. No more lemonade stand, no more worrying about money. Your dad's going to have the farewell. He deserves." Tears welled up in Noah's eyes. "Are you serious?" Elon reached out and ruffled the boy's hair. Dead serious. At that moment, Noah couldn't hold back anymore. He lunged forward and hugged the billionaire tightly. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Thank you so much." Elon patted his back. "You're a good kid, Noah. Your dad would be proud of you." Noah pulled back and wiped his tears. I just wanted to help." Elon nodded. "And you did. You reminded the world what real love looks like." Just then, a car pulled up to the curb and Noah's mother stepped out. She had been grocery shopping, but the moment she saw her son hugging Elon Musk, her bags nearly fell from her hands. "Noah?" she gasped, rushing forward. "What's going on?" Noah turned to her, his face still wet with tears. "Mom, Mr. Musk is helping us. He's paying for everything." Sarah looked at Elon, her eyes wide with disbelief. I don't know what to say." Elon smiled warmly. "You don't have to say anything. Just know that you're not alone." Sarah's lips trembled, and before she knew it, she too was crying. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Elon simply nodded. "It's the least I can do." Noah looked up at him, his heart feeling lighter than it had in days. For the first time since his father passed, the crushing weight of hopelessness seemed to lift, because, in the middle of a scorching summer, selling lemonade on the side of the road, a miracle had walked into his life, and everything had changed. Sarah wiped her eyes, still trying to process what had just happened. Never in her wildest dreams did she think a man like Elon Musk would show up on their quiet street, let alone pay for her late husband's funeral. "I don't know how to thank you," she said again, her voice trembling. Elon shook his head. "No need to thank me. I just did what anyone should do when they see a family in need." Sarah let out a shaky breath. I've been so worried. I wanted to give David a proper goodbye, but Elon reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, placing it gently in her palm. "If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. You're not alone in this." Sarah stared at the card, still overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Noah stood beside his mother, looking up at Elon with newfound admiration. The man wasn't just rich, he was kind. And in that moment, Noah realized something. Money wasn't what made Elon Musk special. It was his heart. Elon turned back to Noah and grinned. "Now how about we do something even bigger?" Noah blinked. "Bigger?" Elon chuckled. "Yeah, you wanted to help your family by selling lemonade, right?" Noah nodded. "Well, how about I help you turn this into something even greater?" Noah tilted his head. "Like what?" Elon smirked. "You ever heard of Shark Tank?" Noah's eyes widened. "The show where people pitch their businesses?" "Exactly," Elon said. "What if we make your lemonade stand famous? Not just in your neighborhood, but everywhere." Noah's jaw dropped. "But how?" Elon pulled out his phone and tapped a few buttons. "Watch this." He held up the phone and started recording. "Hey everyone, Elon Musk here. I just met this incredible young entrepreneur, Noah, who's selling lemonade to help cover his father's funeral costs. This kid's got heart, and I want to help him out. Let's make his lemonade stand go viral. If you're in Austin, come support him. And if you're not, let's find a way to get his lemonade in stores." He stopped recording and grinned at Noah. "What do you think?" Noah gaped at him. "You're gonna post that?" "Already did," Elon said, tapping his screen one last time. Give it a few minutes. Noah and Sarah exchanged bewildered glances. They had no idea how the internet worked on Elon Musk's level, but they were about to find out. 15 minutes later, Noah's lemonade stand was no longer just a small table on a quiet street. Cars started pulling up. People stepped out, some with cameras, some with money in hand. "I saw Elon Musk's post," one woman said. "We had to come." A man handed Noah a $100 bill. "Keep the change, kid." Another person shoved a microphone toward him. "Noah, how do you feel about Elon Musk supporting your business?" Noah could barely breathe. His little stand was turning into something huge. Sarah placed a protective hand on her son's shoulder, overwhelmed but grateful. "This is unbelievable," Elon laughed. "It's just the beginning." By the next morning, the internet had done its magic. News outlets were covering Noah's story. Donations flooded in. People from all over the country were asking where they could buy his lemonade. And then something even more unbelievable happened. Elon called Noah and Sarah to meet him at a nearby cafe. When they arrived, he was already sitting at a table, sipping a coffee. "Good morning, future CEO," he said with a grin, motioning for them to sit. Noah laughed nervously. "CEO?" Elon nodded. "I talked to some people and I've got a deal for you." Sarah furrowed her brows. "A deal?" Elon pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "A company wants to buy the rights to your lemonade recipe and put it in stores. You'd get a percentage of every bottle sold." Noah's eyes widened. "Wait, like in real stores?" "Yup," Elon said. "And a portion of the profits will go to a foundation in your dad's name." Sarah's hand covered her mouth as tears welled in her eyes. "Elon, this is too much." Elon shook his head. "No, it's not. This is about making something good come out of something painful." Noah looked at his mother, then back at Elon. His heart swelled with emotions he couldn't even name. "So, my dad's name will be on something good?" he asked. Elon nodded. "Absolutely." Noah took a deep breath. "Then, let's do it." A week later, Noah's lemonade was officially in production. The funeral was paid for in full, and thanks to the donations, Sarah no longer had to worry about bills. The day of the funeral arrived. It was a quiet, beautiful service. Friends and family gathered to say goodbye to David Reynolds. There were tears, but there were also smiles as people shared memories of him. Noah stood beside his mother, holding her hand. As the service ended, he looked up at the sky. "Dad," he whispered. "I hope you're proud." Sarah squeezed his hand. "He is, sweetheart. He always will be." Standing a few feet away, Elon watched with a small, knowing smile. Some things were bigger than money, bigger than business. This was about family, about love, and about a little boy who, in the middle of his grief, had found hope. Noah stood quietly at his father's grave long after the funeral ended. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows over the neatly arranged headstones. His small fingers clutched a single yellow flower, one he had picked from the bouquet near the casket. His heart felt heavy, but for the first time in weeks, it wasn't weighed down by worry, just love and longing. Elon Musk stood a few feet behind him, giving the boy space, but watching over him nonetheless. The billionaire had attended the entire service, sitting among the Reynolds family, listening to the stories of David Reynolds, the father, the husband, the man who had lived a simple but meaningful life. After a few moments, Noah turned around and walked toward Elon. His eyes were red, but his expression was calm. He looked up at the man who had, in a way, become an unexpected guide through all of this. "Mr. Musk," Noah said, his voice quiet but steady, "why did you help us?" Elon looked down at him, then let out a small chuckle. "That's a good question." He crouched, so he was at eye level with the boy. "I guess I saw something in you, something special, A kid who didn't give up, even when things were really hard. Noah shifted his weight from one foot to the other. But you could have just given us the money and left. Elon tilted his head, considering the words. Money helps, but it doesn't fix everything. I wanted to make sure you and your mom were okay. That you didn't just survive this, but came out stronger. Noah nodded slowly, thinking about that. He looked back at his father's grave. My dad always said it's not about what you have, but what you do for others. He worked really hard, even when things were tough. His voice wavered slightly. I just wanted to do something for him, even if it was just selling lemonade. Elon's face softened. And you did. More than you know. Noah looked up at him again. Do you think he's proud of me? Elon reached out and gently placed a hand on Noah's shoulder. Without a doubt. A breeze passed through the cemetery, rustling the leaves in the trees. For a moment, there was silence. But it wasn't empty. It was peaceful. After a while, Sarah walked over, placing an arm around her son. She looked at Elon with deep gratitude. Thank you for being here. Elon nodded. Of course. He looked down at Noah again. Hey, how about we get out of here? I think I know a place with the best burgers in town. Noah hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, that sounds good. As they walked back to the car, Noah glanced up at Elon again. Mr. Musk? Yeah? I think I want to do something big one day. Like you. Elon smiled. You already have, kid, and something tells me you're just getting started. Noah grinned for the first time in what felt like forever. He wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time since his father's passing, he felt something he hadn't in a long time. Hope. In the days that followed the funeral, life felt different. The house was quieter without Dad's laughter. The mornings felt emptier without the sound of him making coffee and humming along to the radio. But despite the sadness that still lingered, there was something new in the air, something Noah couldn't quite put into words. Maybe it was the weight of worry finally lifting off his mom's shoulders, or maybe it was the fact that, for the first time in weeks, they weren't constantly thinking about bills or how they were going to make it through the next month. The generosity of strangers had helped them in ways he never imagined. But more than that, Elon Musk had changed their lives. Noah still ran his lemonade stand, but it wasn't just a small table on the sidewalk anymore. Thanks to Elon's help, it had become something bigger, something real. A company had picked up the idea and was bottling Noah's recipe, making it available in stores. And just like Elon had promised, part of the profits were going to a foundation in Dad's name. One afternoon, Noah and his mom were invited to Elon's office in Austin. It was one of those things Noah still couldn't believe was happening. A few weeks ago, he'd been standing on the street corner with a sign and a few pitchers of lemonade, trying his best to help his family. Now, he was standing inside one of the most high-tech offices he had ever seen, looking around at walls filled with designs for rockets and electric cars. Elon greeted them with a smile, motioning for them to sit in the lounge area of his office. How's the lemonade empire going? He asked with a smirk. Noah grinned. Pretty good. We've already sold out in a few stores. Elon nodded approvingly. Not bad for a kid who started with a fold-up table and a dream. Sarah chuckled, shaking her head. I still can't believe all of this is real. It feels like a dream. Elon leaned back in his chair. It's real. And it's just the beginning. He turned to Noah. I've been thinking. I want to give you something. Something that could help you in the future. Noah's eyes widened. What is it? Elon reached into a drawer and pulled out a small folder. He slid it across the table toward Noah. Inside this folder are shares in Tesla and SpaceX. They belong to you now. Noah blinked. His heart raced as he hesitantly picked up the folder and looked inside. He didn't fully understand stocks. But he knew enough to realize what this meant. Sarah gasped. Elon, this is too much. Elon shook his head. No, it's not. This is an investment, not just in money, but in you, Noah. He turned to the boy with a serious expression. I see something in you. You remind me a lot of myself when I was younger, curious, hard-working, willing to do what it takes to make things happen. I have no doubt that one day you're going to build something incredible. Noah swallowed hard, trying to process everything. I don't know what to say. Elon smiled. Then don't say anything. Just promise me that when you grow up and do something amazing, you'll pay it forward. Help someone else the way people have helped you. Noah nodded firmly. I promise. Sarah wiped at her eyes, overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you, Elon, for everything. Elon waved it off. Just keep making good lemonade, and we'll call it even. A few hours. Later, as they drove home, Noah stared out the window, thinking about everything that had happened. Life had changed so much in such a short amount of time. He had lost his dad, but in the middle of his grief, he had found strength. He had met someone who believed in him, someone who had given him the chance to dream bigger than he ever thought it possible. That night, as he sat on his bed, he pulled out the folder Elon had given him and ran his fingers over the papers inside. He didn't know exactly what the future held, but he knew one thing for sure. He was going to make his dad proud, and somehow he knew that wherever his dad was, he was smiling down at him, proud of the boy who had turned lemonade into something, much more than just a drink. He had turned it into something lasting, a symbol of resilience, love, and new beginnings.